The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selena Mackenzie.
Now then, about 10 years ago, a chance encounter led our first guest to be entrusted with a treasure trove of wartime notes, photos and paintings that is turned into a memoir. It's about a World War II RAF nursing orderly. To tell us about him, welcome to the show, Graham Bandy.
Good afternoon, Selena.
What a find. How exciting.
Yes, it was rather. Some lady came, I was doing a display of, I was in the army at the time as a nursing officer myself, and she came up to me and started giving me some questions. And I answered them, and she nodded sagely and ummed and ahed, and then she wandered off. And then she came back and said, "I think you're the person I've been looking for." I thought, well, thank you very much. Taken aback, nonplussed, didn't realise what she was on about. And she said, "My neighbour died a few years ago, and I've got all his stuff, and he wanted to turn all his stuff that he's got, all his photographs and notes, into a book, and I've been looking for somebody to do that for him."
Oh, wow.
And she asked if I would do it. Now, unfortunately, I moved around a lot, as you would do with the forces, and various other things happened, and then I'd just written my first book for Pen and Sword, and I was going through my boxes in the garage, and there was these bags, 2 plastic bags with stuff that she'd given me. She'd asked me to go round to her house and pick them up, which I duly did, and then unfortunately they got buried in various boxes over the years, and they suddenly came to light, and I could put them forward for publication from Pen and Sword.
Wow, and the rest is history. Does she know? Have you been in touch with her to tell her that it's now a book?
I haven't been able to find her.
Oh, what a shame.
We went to the village. I went to the village where she was. I knocked on a couple of doors around the area where the chap was actually living, because I had photographs of his bungalow. But sadly, even though I've plastered it all over social media trying to find her, I've not been successful so far. I even went to the church, spoke to the vicar, because they were churchgoers, Scray and his wife. So, but no, nothing, unfortunately, yet.
Well, let's hope she sees it in a bookshop. You never know. So the story is about World War II RAF nursing orderly Harold Scrayfield, but it says LAC. What does LAC stand for?
Leading Aircraftsman. It's a rank in the RAF.
Ah, I understand. So
above private, but below corporal.
Yeah, got you. So who is Harold? What did you find out about him?
Well, I had a long dig. I actually traced his family on the various census, the 1911, the 1921. Then I found him and his wife on the 1939 register. So, I mean, essentially, it was a family history search to start with to find out what we could about him. I found out eventually because there was no mention of his daughter at all. And she's been a so-and-so to trace, but she was a young child during the war. But unfortunately, when Harold and his wife were married, his wife was unfortunately pregnant at the time. So it was a bit of a shotgun marriage by the looks of it. But they went on and, lived happily ever after. So I started with all that. Then I had to go and find all the records to the things that he alludes to all the way through his notes, like the mobile field hospital. I had to get all the records for them from the RAF medical records, where they were, what they were doing, and some of the personnel. He changed a lot of the names, etc., of the people to try and hide as to whom they actually were, and make it a bit more anonymous. But, there were a couple of pen pictures in the book about 3 or 4 of them whom I've managed to actually decipher, track down and find out about.
Wow, how exciting. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together, isn't it?
It was. I mean, there's loads of things. I mean, it's a mobile field hospital for the RAF in World War II is not something you see every day. And the day-to-day operations of such a mobile field hospital at the time were quite hidden. Luckily, when I was in the army, in my latter times that I was in, I was actually a nursing officer in the army myself. So I found it quite easy to go through and sort out all the medical terminology, the medical ranks, the actual people, and knew where to look for one of the nursing sisters who actually became the head of nursing in the Royal Air Force, Dame Veronica Ashworth, and Oswald Peter Dinnick, or OPD, who became the head of anaesthesia and the chairman of the British Anaesthesia Society for doctors. That made it a little bit easier to find out who these people actually were.
So can I ask you, who are the White Sisters?
The White Sisters. Now, this is when they travel, the mobile field hospital are sort of assembled, and he was trained, and they've got the story of all that, and they were assembled up in Lincolnshire. They were then shipped out to Tunisia, and then they travelled across North Africa into Tunisia, because they landed just to the side of Egypt, and then they put their hospital together in a convent in Carthage, which is part of Tunis these days, but the ancient city of Carthage. And there was a convent there run by the White Sisters. There was also a group of monks there, the White Fathers, who were about, but the White Sisters are these nuns, and he sort of falls in with the nuns as well. Although he's a ardent Christian, he was Church of England, and the nuns, of course, were all Roman Catholic, but they found a lot of common ground, and he used to go and chat with the Mother Superior at least once a week and get invited to all the events in the church for the Catholics there.
Blimey. And as far as the notes were concerned, I mean, I can imagine the photographs were incredible, but as far as the notes were concerned, were they wrote in the form of a diary? I mean, did you find out exactly what he did day to day?
No.
Oh,
I had to piece it all together. Unfortunately, they came to me in a jumbled state, and some of it was doubled up, and one had to go all the way through, piecing the story together, trying to match the end of one sentence on one page to the beginning of another sentence on the next page. And it was quite an onerous task trying to put it all together. And there were a couple of typed pages, but 90% of it was all in longhand. So it was a task to put it all together. But, it's an enjoyable task because, you get to see all his photographs that he took. And then there's all these wonderful paintings that he painted on postcards, 6x4 inches postcard, which he would then send home to his wife. And they're absolutely wonderful. You can see how he progresses with his painting through the war, because not only did he start off in North Africa, he went up through Italy and then got seconded to what we would call a sneaky beaky outfit, which was the Special Operations Executive medical mission to Yugoslavia, which was a hearts and minds operation.
Because that's it. I mean, you've obviously travelled around a lot within the army, and he must have done as well. So you must have been darting all over the place to find out where he was.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I had to make contact with a military historian who does the records in South Africa to try and trace one of the chaps who's mentioned. And I got letters from the family by them, but a lot of what is mentioned by Scray, as he was known, or Harry, doesn't actually match up with the records that we actually found. So I was doing all that. Then I had to contact a couple of people in Yugoslavia to find out what was going on. Then I tried to trace the hospital after I'd moved to Bari in Italy. And I was in touch with people in Italy. So, yeah, it was a lot of darting around.
I'm sure. Can you give people advice now onto how to sort of trace military history records? Because it's not easy. I mean, I've just started trying to do my family tree, which has nothing to do with the military. And I've only got as far as my great-grandparents, and I've given up because it's too hard. So...
Oh, no, it's not. There are lots and lots of people out there. I actually also write for Family Tree magazine. And I do all the military stuff for them. I would say I'm the military expert for them, but as we all know, an X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. But I also work for the Society of Genealogists, and I run their Armed Forces Advice Hour.
Wow.
which I do quite a lot of, and it's not that difficult. You start with what you know, and you build back, and then you start looking at the records. But beware of other people's trees on, shall we say, proprietary websites where people are diligent as they could be to actually trace everybody. So yeah, it's something I enjoyed. It's helping people. I mean, I know I don't do any nursing. I help people by helping with their family trees.
Oh, that's great. How do people get in touch with you, though? Do you have any form of website?
I have a website. If you just Google me, and it's livingmilitaryhistory.com. That's all one word, Living Military History. Or you could come along to the Society of Genealogists. I do an awful lot for them. I answer about 5 questions each time. It takes me about an hour to get through 5, if you're lucky. Sometimes it's only 3 or 4, but I diligently research everything, and being ex-military, and I was infantry before I became a nurse, I understand all the jargon that you get in the records.
Right.
So there are lots and lots of places you can go. But
wonderful.
Be careful. It's like anything. Make sure you've got 3 sources that all agree with it, so you know actually that you're putting something truthful in.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't colorise your military pictures, because a lot of the apps colorise them and they can't cope with uniforms. And unfortunately, they all revert back to US Post Office blue for anything that's a uniform. And
I've got you. Yeah.
You can get some quite comedic results, but which are not what the actual relative ancestor was wearing. So there are lots of pitfalls. But,
sounds like it. Great tip. And you mentioned your first book. What's your first book about?
It's identifying military badges for family historians. What it is basically, the British Army, in its wisdom, has a thing called the Order of Precedence, and you start off with the 1st of foot and you end up with the 130th of foot, and even through the amalgamations, they are the way that you deal with a regiment. It goes certainly in a place, and that place is sacrosanct. Unfortunately, I decided that this isn't very helpful for family historians if they've got a photograph in front of them and they can't tell what it is. What happens then is that they and ah and, sometimes get it wrong or sometimes get duff advice from people. But what I've done is take photographs of all the badges, nearly all of them, and as much as, you can do, get into one book. There's about 1,300 photographs. And then it's described by what you see. So if you can see a castle or a circle with a crown or an oval with a crown or a horse or a figure or numbers, you go by what you can see. And then you look up under the different chapter headings and find out what you can actually see. This went down very well with an awful lot of people. I got the commander of the British forces in Afghanistan to write the introduction for it, Colonel Richard Kemp. And it then also, not only does it do that, but it also dates the uniform by loads of pictures, other pictures that I put in there. You can actually date what you can see. So the British Army had things which changed at specific dates and times. So if you see a certain hat, you know it can't be before or after a certain date. Or if you see a type of belt, you know when that type of belt was introduced, so you know it can't be before that date. Or a type of uniform. If one of the ones that comes in 1914 or December 14 has no shoulder pads and has no pleats on the pockets, so you know that that particular jacket cannot be before December 1914.
Clever. Very clever. I like that. And what's that book called?
Identifying Cap Badges for Family Historians, which is also published under Pen and Sword. So if you ever dig through the Pen and Sword website, you'll find it. And there's some rather nice reviews that some people have kindly put on about it.
Great stuff. Well, this particular book, we're selling it right now on our website, TRE.radio. It's called Nursing at the Frontline, a World War II diary from North Africa and Italy. And it's by Graham Bandy, who we're chatting to now. Graham, it's been absolutely delightful chatting to you. I could chat to you for more, but for the moment, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Selena. Oh, and just don't forget, if you go to my website, all the pictures that are in black and white in the book, you can see in colour, the original colour pictures.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Graham. Take care.
Thank you, Selena. Bye.
Bye-bye.